The demise of Israel. No Jewish empire or state has ever lasted more than 80 years. This is a historic fact. The Zionist occupation that calls itself Israel is now 76 years old. It has been engaged for over a year in an unprecedented conflict across 7 fronts. All previous conflicts have never exceeded 4 weeks of high-intensity warfare. The occupation forces are facing Hamas in Gaza, various Palestinian militants in the West Bank, Hezbollah to the north, Iraqi resistance fighters, Syrian resistance, Ansar Allah in Yemen, and Iran. Of these 7 fronts, only 3 are actually on the ground, with Hezbollah posing the greatest danger to the Israeli settlers. Israel is under tremendous pressure not only on the battlefield, but economically, socially, and politically. They've irreversibly destroyed their public image with their daily atrocities and war crimes.
מה אני אעשה? עוד בתים, עוד מגדלים, שלא יהיה להם לאן לחזור. אגב, בתקופת התנ"ך גם היו זורים את האדמה במלח. הם צריכים לזכור עם המלך. הם צריכים לזכור את זה להרבה מאוד זמן. אי אפשר להגיע לאיזה הסדר מיד. סליחה, זה רק אני. זה פשע מלחמה. חס וחלילה. פשע מלחמה זה אני. אתה רגל על הגב. אני.
The world is watching in horror as they shamelessly commit genocide right in front of us. Every day they deliberately drop bombs on defenseless civilians, killing the most innocent. They claim they're targeting Hamas and other combatants, and all civilian deaths are just collateral damage and an unfortunate reality of war. This is absurd as they routinely bomb hospitals, schools, refugee camps, and other non-military structures full of displaced civilians. The excuse that Hamas hides in ambulances and stores ammunition in refugee camps is preposterous and laughable. Anyone who actually believes this is lacking in basic intelligence. They use precision weapons, therefore claiming it's accidental is simply not believable, not to mention the scale of civilian deaths. There are literally no military targets above ground in Gaza. All militant-related weaponry and facilities are below ground. Therefore, if the IDF were serious about defeating Hamas, they would pursue them in their tunnels, yet they don't do this. So the IDF has failed to achieve its objectives in Gaza, which were to rescue the hostages and destroy Hamas. The IDF has failed to neutralize a militant force in an area of just 140 square miles. Meanwhile, in the north, they face Hezbollah, a much more powerful adversary with an elaborate tunnel network of which dwarfs that of what's beneath Gaza, extensive defensive positions across all South Lebanon, and a huge stockpile of rockets, drones, and missiles capable of striking anywhere in occupied Palestine. Since October 8, 2023, Hezbollah has been engaged in low-level fighting with the IDF. Their primary objective was to destroy Israeli surveillance all along the line of contact where Lebanon meets Palestine, rendering the IDF deaf and blind, inhibiting their ability to respond. The Lebanese resistance has been applying huge pressure on Israel for over a year now, with relentless rocket attacks, forcing residents along the entire northern border, 5 to 10 miles deep, to vacate their homes and seek shelter further south. However, since fighting intensified from early October this year, the depth to which Hezbollah has been striking has only increased, forcing even more residents out of their homes, as far south as Haifa. Therefore, the occupiers known as Israelis are quite literally being pushed out of occupied Palestine. It is being emptied from north to south. Israeli High Command keeps claiming they will return these residents, but in order to do so, first, they must defeat Hezbollah, which would require a full-scale invasion and occupation of Lebanon up to the Litani River, something the IDF has already tried twice and failed, back when the resistance was weaker than today. They've made very limited incursions into Lebanon, resulting in heavy losses with absolutely no results. Therefore, dislodging the Lebanese resistance is impossible. Militarily, Israel is failing on all fronts. Economically, things are equally as dire. To their south is Ansar Allah in Yemen, who controls the Bab al-Mandab Straits and has blockaded Israel's southern trade route. All shipping related to Israel passing through the Red Sea has been completely blocked, resulting in the southern port of Eilat having to cease all activity, with 0 ships able to dock. The Yemeni resistance also routinely launches missiles and drones at Israel, even striking Tel Aviv with a hypersonic missile. Businesses are closing left, right, and center. Tourism is finished, and no one is investing. The reasons for this, apart from the obvious in that it's no longer safe, are not only pragmatic, but also moral. There are only so many atrocities anyone with a conscience will tolerate, and most normal people don't appreciate the murderous genocidal behavior of Israelis and therefore refuse to do business with them. Another significant enemy of the Zionist occupation is the Iraqi resistance, which has also been successfully striking targets deep inside the occupation at long range using mainly drones. And finally, we have Iran, the Zionists' ultimate nemesis. Iran has struck Israel twice with unprecedented missile attacks, punching straight through their air defense. First in April with a very limited attack, and then again in October, striking a much heavier blow with 200 missiles, most of which hit their targets. This too was very measured and precise, with no civilian casualties. However, the psychological effect was enormous, as it not only put the fear of God into the entire population, but it demonstrated Iran's ability to strike Israel at will, proving that their air defenses are incapable of defending against their missiles. Iran has effectively put Israel in checkmate, and Tehran has enough conventional weapons to utterly cripple and destroy Israel, with or without nukes, which is exactly what will happen if Israel is foolish enough to strike Iran with force that will cause significant damage. From Hamas to Iran, Israel has been unable to defeat any faction across the entire axis of resistance, even with full military and logistical support from the USA and its European vassal states. Providing weapons, ammunition, and intelligence, all efforts have yielded no military victories other than assassinations. The only other option is American boots on the ground, but this would require significant numbers if there is to be any hope of success. The Israelis would need at least 150,000 American soldiers, along with hundreds of armored vehicles. Basically a land force equal to that which invaded Iraq in 2003, something the US is simply not capable of. Not to mention the lack of support from the population, which already has enough domestic problems. Israel is trying to railroad the USA into a direct war with Iran, but this would only be an air campaign, and Iran cannot be defeated without a full-scale land invasion. Therefore, this would achieve nothing other than to put US bases in the Gulf states at risk of being destroyed, which Iran could easily do, not to mention the economic consequences of Iran closing the Straits of Hormuz and destroying Gulf state oil facilities, which would lead to a global oil crisis, something the USA wants to avoid. Even the mighty US Navy has failed to neutralize Ansar Allah and secure the Red Sea. Therefore, Israel's only option is to negotiate, but they refuse, so the conflict continues. All they would need to do is to stop bombing civilians in Gaza and end the occupation of the Strip. These are the preconditions for the axis of resistance for a ceasefire. Hamas would then negotiate the release of the remaining hostages. The war could end tomorrow, but Israel doesn't want peace. They want to ethnically cleanse all of Gaza and the West Bank, and nearly the entire Jewish population of Israel supports this.
From the Prat,
yes.
to the Nile.
It's not just Netanyahu. Personally, it is also not in his interest for hostilities to end, as he would be arrested for corruption. Israeli behavior is that of desperation, like a wounded animal lashing out. All they are doing is destroying civilian targets, which are of no strategic benefit whatsoever. To defeat your enemy, you must destroy their ability to wage war. Therefore, Israel should be concentrating its efforts on military assets. As this war drags on, and Israel continues to fail in achieving any kind of meaningful victory, while losing combatants and armored vehicles, it's only a matter of time before the front collapses. This is a war of attrition and completely unsustainable for the IDF, which is not built for long, drawn-out conflicts. They don't have sufficient numbers. They can't replace their Iron Dome interceptors fast enough, and too many men have been taken out of the economy to fill the ranks, thus putting even more strain on the economy. For this colonial project to work, there needs to be colonizers. But more settlers than ever are leaving and have done so permanently. Some estimate as many as 1.75 million have already left. Israelis all have second passports because they have countries of origin, chiefly in Europe. This is out of a Jewish population of around 7 million. As more and more people leave, the state will no longer function as it will become untenable. A small minority of die-hard Zionist fundamentalists will remain no matter what, and probably make a last stand in something similar to events of 135 AD at the fortress of Batar, where the Judeans made their last stand against the Romans at the conclusion of the Bar Kokhba revolt, ending in their total annihilation and expulsion from the region. We are witnessing the dismantlement of the Zionist colonial venture, which is dying a death of 1,000 cuts. They are under daily attack with missile barrages launched all across the occupation, forcing settlers into shelters and disrupting daily life, something they have no answer for. Internally, they are also suffering from civil unrest and infighting. The Zionist occupation that calls itself Israel is circling the drain of history, all because of its pride and hubris, which is only accelerating its demise. And America cannot save them. The only question is, what will be the straw that breaks the camel's back? Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. Please also share and leave a like. It's free and it helps the channel. Also, a big thank you to all of you who have very kindly donated. I very much appreciate your generosity, as this channel is demonetized. For one-off donations, it's easy. I accept PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee, or even crypto. Links are in the description. Until next time.